This is Jay Norris with Brewer FX in Chicago. Today's Thursday, October 23rd. Before we go over the charts, I do need to point out that futures and Forex is a risky endeavor and not suitable for all investors. These charts are snapshots of current market conditions and may not necessarily be indicative of future conditions. As always, we start with our longest term chart on the left here, our intermediate term chart lower right, and the intermediate would be the 4 hour. Our short-term chart, the 1 hour, is the upper right. We can look eyes left here on the daily euro chart. Here you had a little hammer down there. You had lower low and then closed stronger. My old buddy Bill Williams would call that a bullish divergent bar. And you actually see we're already into today's trade. It's about 4:30 Central Standard Time, so 4 o'clock is the new day, and you see actually the euro is quite a bit higher already on that. Looks like you're starting off with a short covering rally here, coming into the weekend, coming into Friday tomorrow. Lower right on the 4 hour chart in the euro. You can see it a little bit more clearly. You sewed in a bottom here on the 4 hour chart, and you've got a bit of a short covering rally kicking off. The trend still very much down. It wouldn't surprise me if you do get some short covering with this move being fairly extended now and just ahead of the weekend. Next market, British pound. Pound also, you got a little bit of a rally going on here now in the aftermarket. Pound also had a pound daily chart. You had a hammer there that you hammered out a low on 160 there, just above 160. That alone would be enough of a reason to start the cover. If you can get a close above today's high on an hourly or a 4 hour chart, that would probably spur some more short covering from the technicians here. I'm looking at the 4 hour chart on the lower right. You really need to clear this congestion here to get anything going on the upside. But the timing's certainly right, it being the end of the week, to see the bigger players taking money off the table. The Australian dollar is my new buddy, the Australian dollar. Look at how well the Aussie held up to the turmoil out there. Looks like it's ahead of the pack here as far as holding up pretty darn well. Today you also had a hammer low it put in here on the daily. It held in this range. It looks like you have a symmetric triangle building here. Looks like very well could be putting in a bottom, especially given that it didn't break as hard. It didn't break at all really the last couple of days relative to the other majors. So let's look for if anything, if I was going to play a short covering bounce, I'd be more likely to do it with the Australian pair or the Aussie dollar rather than the other ones. Although certainly the carry, you can see some short covering here. The dollar yen, similar to the other markets in that you had a hammer here. Did you get to that? Did you make a low? I saw somewhere posted that it was challenging. It was testing that low. It looks like you didn't quite get there on this chart. Close enough though. Close enough, and towards the end of the week, where a lot of the traders are just going to take money off the table, take a portion of the short positions off. Ahead of the weekend there. I'm looking at the 4 hour chart down below, lower right for dollar yen, and not much of a bounce there. But as I've said lately, the yen is a tough one to sell new lows. I'd rather sell rallies in the yen and buy dips in the yen. So the yen's always a tough one to press when it comes to a new low. Short-term trend's still down on the daily, but I'd still be looking to sell rallies in there. The Canadian dollar, the opposite. A lot of the majors, the dollar CAD here, put in a shooting star there. When I say the opposite, meaning the majors, the euro yen, the pound yen bottoming out, with the hammers, and the dollar CAD topping out with a nice big shooting star. What my what my old buddy Bill Williams called bearish divergent bar up on top. Lower right here, dollar CAD. You can see it kind of got pretty far away from that trend line, and you know, trend lines provide in this case it's a support line. The trend lines provide support, but it also can act as a magnet too. When a market tends to get too far away from a trend line, it'll snap back to it, and that's it looks like that's what's happening now. And the old Thursday Friday short covering rally. Dollar Swissy. Dollar Swissy couldn't make a higher high for the move, and then you slump down here, and it looks like, you know, to be pulling back a bit itself. Low right 4-hour chart for Dollar Swissy looks like it wants to pull back and test the old breakout. Euro yen, we're seeing lower right here. This is today's trade. You got a nice nice hammer, pin, doji, whatever you want to call it. It's already through today's high into the today's Friday session. I guess we're already into that, and you got a nice rally going. Low right 4-hour chart. Look at how clean that sell-off was. Look at how clean that break was. Usually that means a continuation, but in this case, it's been such an extended move and ahead of the weekend. You know, I think there's plenty of people that are happy, quite happy with their gains. The trend traders, then they'll take some off the table with the idea to reassess, perhaps reload next week. But looks like short covering rally in the euro yen. I'm gonna imagine the same story in the pound yen. Actually, pound yen not as strong as euro yen. It's something to keep in mind for tomorrow. If you're swinging from the short side, you'd be more inclined to be long from so if you're swinging from the long side, you'd be more inclined to be long euro yen rather than pound yen. Euro yen hasn't been able to make hasn't been able to get above today's high just yet, as the pound yen hasn't been able to get above today's high, as the euro yen has. Lower right 4-hour chart. Not much of a short covering rally just yet. We'll have to keep an eye on that, but the market did make a lower low today. Short-term trend very definitely down. You know, there's some of the fundamental guys, some of the counter trend guys that are getting tore up pretty good in that pound yen there. Anytime you see a move that just keeps going and going like that, there's blood out there. So tomorrow's Friday. As so many times, what we look for late Thursday and Friday is the counter trend, covering activity. So I imagine, you know, we're going to see more of the same in that. Thanks for attending, and thanks for the emails I get from you guys. I appreciate that. You know, it's this is a labor of love. It really is. But I definitely enjoy it. Check out our website, our blog on Brewer FX. Check out what Jim's got to say. Jim's a pro. Jim's got a new book coming out too. Congratulations, Jim. And we'll see you. Stay out of trouble tonight in the markets, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.